Welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast, the horror movie podcast that boils and ghouls and dead alike are screaming for. Don't be afraid to listen as Rick and the Creeps bore their way into your brains, slither down onto your arteries, into your still beating hearts.
Hi, welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast. This is the podcast that talks about scary movies or movies trying to be scary.
You are so lame.
Did you like that delay?
Stupid. For effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, ready? For effect. I'm Rick. I got Darren. I got Morris.
What's up?
Yay.
I got the creepiest fuckers around.
Yep.
We're going to creep it up today. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Yep.
Hey, oh, crap. You know, while I'm thinking about it, because I'm going to forget later. Okay, Monster Movie Man 13. Darren, you got SoundCloud.
I do. Yeah, I finally bit the bullet and, want to start putting some of the music that I've been creating as well as the podcast music that I created all this time up there. So it's on SoundCloud.
Give the folks
Yeah, so it's Astral Fractured.
Astral Fractured.
Yep.
All right, people. So head on to SoundCloud.
Yep.
And show Darren some love.
Yep. Do it.
Right on.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna release them all at once. I'm probably gonna kind of dribs and drabs. Kind of maybe like once a week.
Yeah, tease them with a little.
Yeah.
Release the Kraken.
So I wanted to throw that out there before I forgot, because I always seem to forget towards the end of these episodes. Today, we decided to do a classic here, 1981's The Evil Dead.
Join us.
Dude, that's good music.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for that one.
Oh,
yeah, I wish I could tell you I was composing it last night just for this episode.
I was up until 2 a.m.
Yeah, because I'm so versed in instruments and. Oh my God. Right. Let's see. Evil Dead, 1981. In case anyone hasn't seen this, it's directed by Sam Raimi. I'll do a quick synopsis since none of these fools want to do it.
I can do it.
Okay,
You want me to do it?
Go. I'm putting you on the spot.
All right, let's see.
What's Evil Dead about?
Evil Dead is about 5 friends that travel up to a cabin in the woods in the outskirts of Tennessee. To spend some time and do some partying. They come across this tape recorder that has this incantations from a Book of the Dead that plays and kind of unleashes this evil that lurks in the woods, and they are up for some crazy, dastardly results that are kind of deadly.
That works for me.
Yep.
That sounds about right.
That was off the cuff.
That's pretty good, because I was just going to say, like, 5 friends go to a cabin,
Creepy
they release
cabin.
demons, and shit breaks loose.
Yeah. Shit goes down.
I gotta tell you, man, that cabin,
yeah,
that's creepy, man.
Yeah.
That cabin.
From what I always found funny is when you look at when they drive up to the cabin, I'm like, damn, that thing looks small. And it's just like huge. It's like this big thing in the back. And then I didn't realize there was like 2 other like cabins behind it, it looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some sheds. I think one's a shed.
One's a shed.
And then I don't know what the other one is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems so small, and then it's bigger than we realize it is.
Right.
And then it has a friggin' basement, and and so yeah.
A little trivia: that basement, they built that basement in there. The actual cabin doesn't have that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense, I guess.
They had to build a lot of stuff. They had to fix it. I mean, it was so run down. There was cow shit in there.
Oh, I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it would be run down. Mm-hmm. But I guess before we jump into it, full spoilers, everyone.
1, 2, spoilers coming for you.
So I hadn't. I don't remember who recommended this. I think I did. I said, "Hey, let's end this kind of slew of episodes on a classic note and do the classic Evil Dead." I think that's where I think I recommended it. And I hadn't seen this in a while. I mean, I've seen it several times over the years, but I hadn't seen it in a while, and I watched it last night. And I know I'm probably going to go to hell for saying this, but I was quite bored with this film.
You're being drugged to hell.
Am I being dragged to hell? See,
yeah.
Sam Raimi, see how we did that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, man. Okay. So I'm going to say I appreciate the film for what they did. I know Sam Raimi wrote and directed this film. I get it. And I know, Bruce was a friend of his, right? Bruce Campbell.
Self-financed film.
Self-financed. I appreciate all that. I do. I respect it. I really do. And I know it's a classic, and I know it has really cool things that are happening here in the movie, but I was quite bored watching this last night. I honestly could not wait for it to end, and I know people are going to give me shit, and you guys will probably give me shit for this.
So flesh that out, man. What exactly was boring? Like, I'm trying to understand that.
I felt everything about the film was boring to me.
Really?
Yes, I know.
I feel it kind of moves along.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know. Like, is boring the right?
Well, it's your opinion, but
yeah. I mean, I guess I was just, and maybe it's because I've seen it so many times, and now I hadn't seen it in a while, and now for this podcast, when I go into these movies, I flip on this critique button, and I find that, I don't know, man, maybe that's what's happening here. I'm not saying that it's not that I didn't enjoy the movie. It's not an enjoyable movie. Mm-hmm. But I found myself quite bored with it.
You know what happens to me on especially these older horror movies is the nostalgia kicks in for me, and that's the thing that takes over. Yeah. Like even if I'm going into it, where I need to like critique it for a podcast, I don't actually the nostalgia part of my brain kicks in, and I just sort of sit in that state of mind. I like thinking back, like watching it on a VHS tape, with a tube TV and that whole thing, and how creepy it was.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what takes over for me. So I don't even.
It doesn't for me.
That's weird.
It doesn't for me, at least with this movie. Now, I'm not saying it never does with some movies, because some movies it does. That will kick in for me. It depends on what it is. Mm-hmm. This one, it did not. And yeah, like I understand it's low budget. I get all of that. And I'm not saying that there's some things, like I think the music and the camera work, especially by Sam Raimi is and I think, and you guys maybe know more about this than I do. And I was telling Darren this earlier when we were chatting a little bit. There's some stuff that Sam Raimi does that reminds me a little bit of Hitchcock and Brian De Palma. Mm-hmm. Morris, would you say that's accurate with some of the film, the filming? Because I know you're a big Brian De Palma fan.
I am. It is accurate. He's kind of like, for his era, he's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino, because he borrows from different genres. He also borrowed from a little bit of Kurosawa too, and some of the Japanese. Some of that Japanese animation and stuff from like the late 60s and the 70s. A lot of his camera angles come from that as well. He's kind of very eclectic on how he directs and frames his shots.
I mean, the thing is, Sam Raimi, he definitely has a style about him, right? Like you could watch some of these directors and you probably didn't know who directed, but you go, okay, that's so and so, because they have a style about them, and in all his movies. I would say not all of them, but most of them follow
So to drill down a little bit further on that thought, what I think happens then is I start soaking in the atmosphere, and then the time doesn't matter. I just find myself not even thinking about time. To me, I soak in all that creepy forest cam stuff, and and I don't even think about the time. I don't know. Yeah. It's like time just sort of goes right on by.
I didn't get that feeling from this as you did.
Let me ask you
the atmosphere. Like, I didn't feel there was. I'm not saying there's zero atmosphere, but the atmosphere that you're maybe speaking of, I don't think it resonated as much with me.
Yeah, you're not a fan of like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre either.
I'm not. I'm not a huge fan.
I put that in the same vein.
Absolutely, Morris.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, I appreciate the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, and I don't really care for that movie. I mean, not really. I mean, the story of it, I don't really care for. But what I do like about that movie is exactly that. It's the
atmosphere,
the griminess,
creepy. Yeah, I don't know where was that. Was that in Texas?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of square state,
almost like a guerrilla filmmaking. You know, it's very amateurish.
Yeah,
but you could tell that both of those directors had like a visual style.
Yeah,
and everything's framed beautifully. You could just tell that both were shot 16 millimeters. So you know, it's not a nice clean print.
And I'm okay with it not being clean. I like movies that are not clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm saying. Like I love when some of these newer movies will try to capture that older feel of some of the 70s or 80s horror movies. You know, I enjoy that. Like okay, for instance, Planet Terror. You know, when Robert Rodriguez, he put like this filter on it and it made it look choppy and old and stuff.
That.
And I dig that. To me, I don't know. I didn't feel a lot of that atmosphere. I felt some tension here and there. I love, and Sam Raimi still does this. His shots, like, okay, when she's in the forest and we're not seeing it, but they're seeing it, and trees are falling down, and this big presence or entity is,
But what about the camera as it's cruising along right at the water line,
and then
it angles.
Mm-hmm. I dig that, but that isn't atmospheric for me.
Well, I know. Let me finish. Okay. And then there's like I don't know. There's like smoke bubbling up out of. I mean, and then just the very feel the whole feel that gives is the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And I think that atmosphere permeates through the entire thing, even when they're in the cabin.
It's like a level of dread.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, I don't see, but I didn't really feel that. Like, I don't feel like I don't know. I didn't feel like dread. I didn't feel that. I felt dread dread in say Hereditary. It felt dread.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Dark and the Wicked. It felt dread. And this one, I didn't feel dread at all. You know what?
Well, just dark and oppressive. I mean,
I don't know. No,
you don't feel that either.
No, not really. Yeah. Not really. What I felt like, rewatching this
for you was like Disney creatures.
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, not at all. Like I felt that. I don't even know what the word would be to describe.
Where's the churro stand?
No, not like that. Like, I understand. I'm sure that was the intent, but it didn't come across that way to me. Oh. What I felt was how much hell can I put Bruce Campbell or the character of Ash through?
You're right.
That's really what this felt like to me, and it's really what it was. Well,
I watched a documentary on this because in case anybody cares, you cannot find this movie streaming anywhere. I mean, I've seen it a ton of times, but I wanted to refresh, but I couldn't refresh because it's not streaming. So I found a documentary to watch that, and those actors went through not just Bruce Campbell. Those other actors went through quite a bit of hell.
We met at Morse. Darren, I don't think you were at this one Sinister Con that we went to. And if you were, I apologize for forgetting. But we met the ladies that played in all, Cheryl, Linda, and Shelley.
Yeah.
The three actresses that played in Evil Dead. We met them at one of the cons.
Yeah, I don't think I went to that one.
You didn't go to that one. No. And we sat in on a panel, and they explained that. They went through hell.
They did.
Hell filming that movie.
Yeah.
They were sticky with, dyed Caro syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but
they were just doing this right off the cuff, man. I mean, they not even half the time, the entire time they filmed, no one was paying attention to any details for continuity. They would just go we think that the splatter looked like this on the ground.
I don't think any of my, the only thing I guess I would say to that, there were a few things that I noticed last night. Like, I know, when the demon takes over and the flesh is supposed to look rotten, and then all of a sudden I see their regular fingers peeking through. It was like, okay, yeah. Or there was parts like that where I was like, it just didn't.
See, that's what I mean, man. That's the magic of the tube TV and the VHS tape.
Well, when I saw this for the first time, I think I saw it on VHS when I was a kid. And I remember going to school the next day and trying to explain it to a friend. And I got stuff messed up. And I honestly thought there's a scene where I don't know if it's Ash when he removes like it looks like maybe a piece of a tree trunk out of Scott, and then all of a sudden blood starts gushing out.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought it was a penis.
Oh Jesus,
dude, I know. And but you're talking about going back and thinking about that.
Yeah.
That last night when I was watching the movie, I go, you thought that was a penis? Like you explained it to a friend at school. You were watching like this creepy movie.
It was like a cock.
Yeah, like he was pulling out his penis and then all this blood came out. But see, when I watched this, it came out in 81, so maybe I watched it in 82. That would have made me 10, 11.
Wow, so you saw that this early.
10, yeah.
I wasn't aware of this movie until about maybe 84, but I didn't see it until 85.
That would be about me too.
Yeah. Because I saw it at a girl's birthday party.
Oh, okay.
This girl had a bunch of girlfriends over, and then there was like us 3 guys that came, and the parents were in the bedroom watching something else. But so they were letting, this girl's 15th birthday party, and we were all just kind of hanging out, and there's this one girl that I liked, and we were just like snuggling on the couch, and we watched Bachelor Party. And then we finished it off with Evil Dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So apparently, Evil Dead was the most stolen tape.
It was
at video stores.
Oh, really?
Excuse me.
When if you didn't bring a cassette back, it was like $100 you get charged or something like that.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you remember that? Like,
oh yeah.
If you didn't bring it back, they would like. I think even on their like covers, they would say you're going to pay us this. And I'm like, holy crap.
Dude. But I don't think this situation was that they rented it and never brought it back. No, I think they went to the video store and stole it.
Right. Oh, they stole it? Oh, okay. Yeah. But I'm trying to remember the video. Sometimes the video cassette was on the shelf and other times it was in the back. Like all it had was a cover. So I assume this was a situation where they just...
Early on, probably. I mean, video stores got smart. How
they progressed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, I miss video stores.
Me too.
Yeah. Shit, we need to bring like an old, like Morris and I went over to the cave. Was it last weekend we went?
Last weekend, yeah.
And dude, it was like, so it was almost like a Dimple. Mm-hmm. I think it's owned by the son that the parents that own Dimple, and he opened up these. I think he's got 2 stores, and you go into this thing, and it's like
nostalgia.
It's a little nostalgic, man, where it's a lot of like, we noticed a lot of albums and movies, but a lot of like figures and other stuff and clothes. And it was interesting. It was like, I don't know how busy they get and how well they do, but it was like, I still feel like there is a place for a store like that, but maybe done a little differently. I don't.
Yeah, because that one's just too all over the place.
I watched I don't even know what the hell was on. It might have been Netflix. I don't even remember, YouTube, but it was like a show on talking about the last blockbuster.
Oh yeah.
It's like in Oregon. I think.
Yes,
I think it's Oregon. Yeah.
Is it still open?
I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll close it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I don't know. Like, I mean, so this is why I bring this up. You couldn't find this movie anywhere. Yeah. So Morris and I, we still have, we have physical media, right? Yeah. Like, Morris more so than me. But I own it on like some old DVD, some collector thing that I bought years and years ago. But you went to go and watch this for this episode and you couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah. But I've seen this movie. Last time I saw it was about 8 or so months ago, and it was streaming then.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah. But that happens where they go through these, and I don't know why they do it.
It's licensing. They lose the licensings, because I was telling Rick that it was streaming on Prime and Shudder like 8 months ago.
Yep.
And then I went to go look to stream it, and it was gone. And I'm like, well, luckily I have the same DVD you do. It's, the Necronomicon.
The Book of the Dead. It's like that weird rubber.
Yeah, I think it was Prime that I watched it.
Yeah. But I mean, this is why we need to still have physical media. And
okay, so I did find it yesterday. It was a website called the Internet Archive.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and it was subtitled in I want to say like Korean or something.
Oh wow, interesting.
I started to watch it, but I had texted you, Rick, and I'm like, I found it on Internet Archives, and it's like, and you texted back saying I wouldn't trust that.
I would trust that.
So I shut it down and moved on,
dude.
But I was watching it, it was the full blown movie. I probably should have just kept. I'm sure it's fine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Nowadays, shit, like you go to a site you're not familiar with and shit attaches, and all of a sudden,
No, you're right. I mean, definitely.
I'm like, I'm cautious anymore, man. I just won't do it.
I think I have a 2 terabyte external hard drive, and I have, gosh, I wish I would have known. I have a MP4. I could have sent you that MP4.
Oh,
yeah.
It's all good.
We wouldn't we wouldn't resell it because we don't want to get in trouble for any copyright stuff. Right. Sam Raimi, whoever out there trying to get some money out of us, we're not selling it. We're not.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm not saying it's not a classic, but just because something is classic, it doesn't mean I have to like it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I hated it. I just wasn't so like, dude, some of the stuff just put me off. Like,
okay, and so here's a question then for you. If you were to go into the room in the back there and put on Evil Dead 2 and come out, what do you think you'd say about Evil Dead 2?
I haven't watched it in a while, but I think I'd probably like it more. And I'll tell you why. And I think it's because it has more of a campy feel to it for me. It has more of it's more humorous, I think. And I'm not saying that's like, I'm just saying if you're asking me, okay, it's if you're going say, hey Rick, if you watch 1 and 2, which one do you think you're gonna like more? Right. Now, I think I would like 2 more, and I'm telling you that's why. Yeah. If I'm comparing the two, and I've told you this in a discussion. If you put me on a spot and said, Rick, here's Elm Street 1 and Elm Street 3, I told you this.
You're going to go 3 every time.
I'm going to go 3 every single time.
Yeah. So Morris, what's your take on that?
I'll tell you my take, because I was just thinking of that question. So Evil Dead 2 for me, while I feel like Rick on 1, while I appreciate it, and I like, and I'm talking about Evil Dead 2, while I appreciate it, and I know that the horror community embrace it more. Yeah. I don't like it as much.
Neither do I.
I like Evil Dead 1.
Me too.
Because of the campiness.
Yes.
And while Army of Darkness is technically Evil Dead 3, I like Army of Darkness more because I appreciate it's more of like a kid's movie. Yeah. But Evil Dead 2, it seems like they tried too hard.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. And so I would say I'm aligned exactly with you on this. The reason I loved Evil Dead was because of the vile, evil, depressive nature, at least that I thought it was. Right. Okay. Evil Dead 2 started to introduce a little bit of this wacky campiness thing.
Wacky camping.
But not, obviously not as much as Army of Darkness. Right. But it was like there, and it was enough to kill the mood that they established with Evil Dead, at least in my mind. Right. Okay, now, then you go Army of Darkness, and then they totally just leaned heavy into the camp. And then it changed for me, because then it just became like silly. Yeah. And then I switched my head and put on my silly head to watch Army of Darkness. But knowing full and well that, the original vibe that the first one had wasn't there for me.
So if it means anything, I don't own Army of Darkness, so that tells you anything. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm just not. It's way sillier for me. So that why I like part 2 better is because it's the medium of it all, right?
It's in between.
Yeah. It's in between. And that's why, and I love campiness and I love humor, but it still has gore and it still has all the other stuff that, to me, it's like a good combination of it took a little bit of the first one and then they added it and they did some stuff differently with this one. And that's why I think I like it more.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just our different preferences, because with the Elm Street thing, I'm getting wrong. I mean, I love Elm Street 3, but the more and more sequels that occurred with the Elm Street, the more funny and campy and less creepy they made it, for sure. Which is why I prefer the first one.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But my argument with that is like this it's like Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness. 2 is the happy medium of them, right? Yeah. It's the combination. That's Elm Street 3 for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And even 4 is okay, but anything after that is crap. Yeah. But 3 is, you still have some seriousness of it with the deaths, but then you add all these practical effects and some of the humor. And they knocked it out of the park for me, man.
Now, I know we're not talking about the Elm Street thing, but what is your take on the Elm Street?
The same thing.
Same thing.
So part one, being that I've watched it a million times, and like Rick, maybe like he feels, I know the movie in and out. I feel like part one is just very dark.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah.
Part two obviously goes off the rails a bit, but it's, you think about it, it's a kind of a fucked up movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, the themes are very dark. I know that's got that gay undertone thing that people talk about, but it's still very dark.
Yeah.
And even though Freddy's look changes in each movie, which I always thought was kind of weird. It's like, Jason's hockey mask and his looks change,
Right.
but they're made in sequential order of just a year, most of these 80s movies. So part two is very dark. Part one's very dark. Love the story more. Part two's dark. Story not so much, but it's still good. I think part three, though I can appreciate, like Evil Dead 2, I appreciate that it's a well-done movie.
Yeah.
It's probably the strongest story. It's the strongest everything. I like it third in line. So as it goes down, I like part one the best. I like part two.
Yeah.
Really?
Next.
Really? You would choose part two over part three?
I do, honestly.
Really?
Because,
Interesting.
this is the funny thing. I saw part two first out of the whole series. Because
seriously?
I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
And then I saw part one a month later on cable.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh.
And then I saw part three in the theater.
So for you, part two kind of is your first introduction into it.
It is.
So it's going to have more weight.
The nostalgic factor.
Yeah. And now listen, part three, I'm down with it for all the reasons you love that movie. I get it. Effects. There's no question.
Yeah, it's the better movie.
But the first one is I like the darker.
Yes, me too.
I just do.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I respect
It's
it
just
because none of us are wrong here.
Right.
No.
None of us are wrong.
That's our opinion.
Yeah. Exactly. And Morris, I would almost say in part two of Elm Street is the best makeup. When he rips out his, the brain. Dude, I mean, he looks, and in part one, he looks great too, but but anyways, but I think that's kind of where I'm at with the Evil Dead. And I know they've done other stuff afterwards, and I did that. What was that?
Oh, Ash versus the Evil Dead. That's really a good
and it's
story.
really good.
Yeah. I want to clarify this really quick. This part two was really kind of just a remake of part one, right?
With bigger budget.
Budget, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what they did?
Well, I mean, I can't
technically call it the sequel.
You can't really.
Not really.
Well,
it definitely doesn't.
Sam Raimi has answered this question, and he says it's both. He says it's a continuation.
Well, now that's going to be.
I know.
That clarifying
clears it
that.
up.
Yeah.
And then he says it's also kind of like a pseudo reboot remake.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of, because I want to say from the first he financed it, self-financed, and then he had a distribution company with, Renaissance Pictures, I think, picked up part two. And so it was kind of his way of doing like what George Romero did with the Night of the Living Dead remake. You know how they didn't have the trademark and he didn't really have the rights anymore. So that's why he did the Tom Savini directed Night of the Living Dead 1990. So he had kind of retained some of those rights by making that. That's kind of what Sam Raimi did with part two. And then, he kind of carried the story along. He says it's kind of a pseudo sequel because when you think about basically the beginning of the movie is kind of like a rundown of the first movie minus all the other guys.
Right.
It's just him and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then, that final shot of Evil Dead, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but like the camera hitting him, and then you see what happens to him after that, in part two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, look, we sit here and we talk about these movies and we just give our opinion. It doesn't mean we're right and we're wrong. You guys are definitely seem to be on board with the first one. I'm more so the second one.
And it's nostalgia bait for me. I mean, and I know nostalgia really takes me in the feels with certain things.
Yeah,
and,
it does.
And
me too.
Definitely with this.
It does with me, but not on this one. It just didn't at all. And I just found like what I did like about this is it doesn't take long to, they get to this cabin. It doesn't take long for them to unleash these demons, right? All this evil that's, going to essentially consume everyone.
So I know there's really, in terms of story, there's not a ton of it here, but I did think it was funny. And it was like the first scene when they were driving and they drive past the two people that were fishing. They just simply waved.
Yeah.
and then the guy like yelled out the window. Like, so I don't know. He was like, well, I'm not honking at you or something.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that was kind of inappropriate. Like,
Yeah.
kind of a little overreaction there.
So the two guys that were the fishermen that were waving, that was Sam Raimi and Robert Tapert.
oh, that's
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Is his brother have some Ted Raimi? Is he in this movie somewhere? Like, does he?
Oh yeah, he's
Because
one.
he always uses him in his movies. So
he's
is he?
one of the fake shemps.
Okay,
So,
okay,
So he's
okay.
one of the girls
Okay.
when they're possessed.
I get you. Okay.
Because essentially this started filming in 79.
yeah.
And then it finished finally in 81.
Yeah.
But they had to come back and do and that's where the cow shit came into
Yeah.
effect.
Some of the shooting was in Sam Raimi's like house.
Yeah.
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
funny.
Like toward the end, like
Right.
the rest of the crew had pretty much left. I think it was just Bruce Campbell,
Yeah, it was-
with his solo stuff he was doing.
And Ted Raimi actually had to play like some of the hands and
yeah.
stuff. you know?
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It I think part of this is, and I'm gonna try to. So when you guys are right, when you see this in the early '80s and we have it on some crappy TV on VHS, you don't see. I watched it last night on on my little area, and I have a 100-inch screen. Okay, and it's a projector, and I don't have it in Blu-ray or 4K.
It's just DVD.
So it's just DVD, and there are scenes where it doesn't look super crisp, but other times where it looks better. And these demons and the flesh, it just looked bad. It looked really bad, and I think that's what kind of soured me a little bit. Yeah. And so you're probably right. Like,
And understand too, man, you're, at this point in 2022, you're desensitized, man. There is very little, unless you're dealing with a snuff flick or something
Right.
that is really going to shock you or affect you in any way. You got to think back and try to place yourself into the young version of you who first saw it on a VHS tape.
yeah.
You know
what it did remind me of as well, and I know Morris knows I hate this, is I'm not a huge fan of the Italian horror movies.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And some of the effects reminded me of some of those,
Absolutely.
And then I think that's what kind of put me off too, because I'm just not a fan of them. And I think it was a combination of those things.
But back when it came out and the first time you saw it, you never had that opinion anyway.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
That never even factored
Not at
in.
11 or so when I saw it. No, I was literally just trying to explain it to a friend at elementary
They ripped
school.
his penis off, man.
I thought it was a friggin'
I think it's blood.
I think it was, yeah. And then, and that's what I remembered last night rewatching it. I was like, come on, Rick, you really thought that was that? And you explained it to this. Back then I was Ricky. So I would have been, Ricky, you explain.
So, dude, do you think that your friend actually went back at some point and watched it and was all like, what the fuck?
What the hell was
Fucking
Ricky? What was Ricky thinking? That was
to
yeah,
be touching
I don't
my
know.
dick, Rick.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It was just, I can only tell you what I remembered about watching it when I was a kid and then trying to explain it.
That's funny.
But I remember when I was a kid, I remembered other things like I thought were happening. And then,
Oh yeah, I was going to say that.
What?
Well,
Go ahead. No, go
So
for
the
it.
the Mandela effect, So when Cheryl is in the woods by herself and she gets by the forest, by the trees, I thought there was more happening in my mind than actually when rewatching this. Obviously, I've seen it dozens of times from the 90s, but when I watched it in the 80s. My mind until the 90s, I'm like, oh my god, it was violent, and there was there was blood, and you can actually see it going inside of her and stuff, and
that was actually in post.
Yeah, that didn't even happen.
They didn't even tell her that was going to occur.
Right. Yeah, she was telling that story on the panel.
Mm-hmm.
See, so it's funny, Morris. The opposite for me. When I was a kid, I felt it didn't last as long. But when rewatching it last night, it just went on for a while. I felt it was too much.
It was
of it
too
for
much.
Me.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. See, for me, it was the opposite.
And then
I thought there was more going on there, and I'm like, oh my god, that was just so graphic. And, and then when you're just like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, people are like, oh my god, that's the goriest movie ever, because it's so infamous. And then when you watch it, it's like there's hardly any blood.
Well, for when it came out, I'm sure it
That's what I mean. I think it's important to keep in mind
and I try, and I really am trying, and I had to keep that in mind when I'm watching this film, and because I know it took a few years to get done, and so I do respect the art. I am not,
Right.
I'm just telling you from watching it last night through this 50-year-old really blurry lens these days that I have, which are my eyes. I just was like,
and I'm gonna say it. I've been saying it before. Nothing ever good comes from whether you flip on a recorder or you say it yourself. You start talking in Latin.
yeah.
Telling you.
Oh yeah.
Especially in a cabin anywhere. If we should learn anything, any sort of cabin out in the woods, nothing ever good happens.
So and you know what? You think about, okay, all this bad stuff happened to Ashley or Ash.
Ash,
Yeah. So, and it's like, well, what did he do to deserve that? He's like, no, go ahead and play it. He's like, it's fine. Just, what's it going to hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did hurt. Because you could tell that, like the beginning of the movie, there's that element of the evil was there.
Oh yeah.
They just, by playing the words and stuff, by having that incantation come back out, it just opened the floodgates.
Yep.
For somebody to get possessed.
Yeah, it was like like I always felt like what was going on there was the evil was kind of there, but kind of contained.
Right.
It was just bubbling under the surface there, and all it took was the goddamn Latin.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know, man. I feel though there is at least a common theme in all three films, right? Like Bruce Campbell or Ash goes, dude, literally Sam Raimi does everything he can possibly do to put him through hell. Like in every film. Like it's like, how does he continue to just, I don't know, muscle through? It's like literally one thing after another. Like and watching Evil Dead, it's like
how much stuff can they splash in his face?
Seriously, chopping off a head and it oozing into his mouth and all of these things that are happening. Like watching it last night. And it comes back to me thinking, Dad, the cabin seems so small. And I'm like, how many bookcases were going to fall on top of him and he couldn't get away from? Like, how many were in this fucking
and you
cabin?
could tell that was an accident, but at the same time, they captured it, and that was kind of fucked up.
Dude, I counted at least twice.
Yeah.
Bookcases fell on top of him and he was stuck. And he couldn't get away. And it was, was like, it was kind of funny. That was kind of funny to me. Like you could tell, there was some humor, not a lot, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like just scratching the surface that Raimi was going to use if this was any sort of success and he could do it again.
Yeah.
He was literally going to go overboard.
And that's what he did with part 2.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's there,
Well, it's that Three Stooges humor, and he's a huge Three Stooges fan.
Oh, yeah.
A slapstick kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do love. Like I said, the effects were whatever for me. I get the low budget and I understand that. What I think I liked the most of this film is the camera work is just, I think, is groundbreaking for me. I'm not saying that he was the first to do it, and maybe he was. I don't know.
I think he was, because at least that documentary that I watched, many directors after that came out started swiping that stuff. So I think it probably
from
was.
that perspective, where you're not seeing any.
Well, that's where you got that from the Japanese. So I can't think of the Japanese director's name, but the movie that came out it's 1977. It's very infamous as a slapsticky horror comedy called House. It's got a big smiley cat.
Okay.
So they use those camera angles.
Not to get it confused with the 86 House.
No, this one's 1977.
I don't
House.
know. I don't know. Maybe I've seen the cover of that. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I think you have.
Okay.
And it's
so that was definitely he kind of.
Oh yeah, that
it was
guy,
an inspiration or something that he wanted to. Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that camera work was done like that?
Like that, yeah.
Okay. So all right.
Or,
yeah,
the following the
dude, I love it. Like I loved it then. I love it now because he still does it in his movies. He did it in Drag Me to Hell. Hell, I would probably argue he probably did it in that new Doctor Strange movie. I just probably didn't pay attention so much to it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He has, like, when you were talking about his little stamp of approval, you know that he's got a visual style.
Yes.
Well, that MCU movie has his stamp of approval all over it. It's
well,
got his...
but I would argue not in a good way because I didn't care for it.
Well, you didn't, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I'm watching a little trailer right now as you guys are talking on this house, and absolutely, you
has
can
that
absolutely,
really,
yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
so he borrowed.
He did
from this Japanese.
Yeah,
this is Japanese director. Okay.
What's the director's name? I can't.
Oh goodness. Oh God, I'm gonna totally butcher this.
Just give it a shot.
Nobuhiko Abayashi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, the effects on this one are
well, I mean, 70 something. 70,
yeah,
you said?
but
70s.
I mean, it has that. Yeah, it totally has that vibe.
Okay,
so he didn't the cam like he
didn't create it, but he just maybe threw his own style to it.
Yeah, like I said, he's definitely the Quentin of his time.
Yeah. I mean, and I love. I'll tell you what else I love is the voice, the childlike voices. The singing.
The sound design.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sound design on this movie is fucking, for the budget it was through the roof, man. It was so good.
Oh, yeah.
Because just even his girlfriend,
is it Linda?
Linda,
yes.
Linda. Mm-hmm. Her voice, we're gonna... Dude, that's so creepy.
Yes, dude. Yeah.
It actually, like, back in the day, it used to give me goosebumps, you know?
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. Like, I love that.
And the music box kind of faintly playing in the background.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's no music box, but just to kind of, like you were saying, getting that vibe, that airy, that atmosphere vibe.
Yeah.
The one, I will say, the one scene that always gets me, and I'll be honest, last night I put my friggin' hand over my eye. When she takes the pencil and starts digging it into the foot, dude, I can't do it. I can't because I feel it. Like I literally, and I guess it's really kind of the point, right? If you can somehow like almost envision that happening to you,
digging it,
and I'm like, dude, I had to do because I know the scene. And I'm like, okay, I put it across my hand over my eyes just for a second because I can't stand stuff like that, and it just digging away at it.
And that's where she infected Linda. You know, with the evil.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's still good things that are happening here. I'd love he always has that, okay, when the camera is going over the top of the beams in the cabinet, and then it makes that,
and then it's looking,
it makes like a noise.
Down. Yeah.
Well, I was telling Darren this, like when she's running through the forest to get back to the cabin and the door's locked and she's trying to reach for the key, and that perspective, we're looking down on her and she's struggling to try to find it.
And it's got the violin strings.
Yeah. I like that sound.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, it doesn't mean, like I said, I mean, there's still a lot of things that are happening here that I think are great. I'm just saying as a whole, I was a little bored. I was a little bored.
I thought the stop motion, the decision to do the stop motion thing was kind of interesting.
Yeah. You said you read up on, or you watched on that documentary?
On that documentary, yeah. It was probably a good idea that they did that, because Sam Raimi's apparently his original idea was to have balloons, like I guess as painted or whatever.
Oh, wow.
You know, to be like the corpses and to have them slowly deflate and then smoke come out of them or some shit.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't like the claymation. I thought it was terrible, but I think that would have been far worse. Like, this at least is, I thought rewatching that last night, the claymation did not look good at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole stop motion thing with the claymation, you know, obviously it's a tip of the hat to like Harryhausen, people like that that did, you know, Clash of the Titans, and
like the
Jason the Argonauts.
Yeah.
You know what I remember like thinking the first time I saw it? Isn't there's scenes where like isn't there like a grandfather clock in there?
Oh yeah,
some kind of clock. Okay, and doesn't it freeze? Doesn't like time freeze?
It freezes. Boink, clink. It's all
yeah,
and then it's very loud. Dong, 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 dong.
So like when that happened, I sort of my imagination sort of ran, and I thought, okay, well, he's entered some sort of weird evil realm,
like vortex or something.
Yes,
yeah,
correct. And to me, like the claymation scene was like time, like kind of being fucked up. Like,
okay.
That was what I envisioned in my mind. That was how I rationalized what I was seeing. Like, because it's a little weird to go from real, I don't know, to claymation.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
I mean, and not done correct, right? Well, and you could argue that this wasn't really done right either.
No.
Could be jarring. But when you take it in the context of the overall story, that was how I rationalized it in my mind, was that some weird evil time vortex. And so, like
interesting.
The corpses decomposing was all time fractured. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
I don't know, something to think about.
I love the choice of the oatmeal coming out of
I know,
the sleeves in the mouth.
Yeah.
It was oatmeal, right?
It was.
Because I was like, I looked at it last time, I'm like, well, that's either oatmeal or some thick old like cream of corn.
And cream of wheat.
Yeah. I mean, I get it though, when you're financing on your own and you're working on such a thin budget, dude, you have to do what you can to try to get
Got to raid the pantry.
Yeah. And so, I mean, rewatching it with the flesh, it is. I think watching it like when we were younger on a small little crappy ass screen, and then watching it now, it just didn't hold up for me, like that type of stuff. And
I got to tell you, man, that was a 2013 remake.
I never watched the remake.
Oh, Jesus, man. Yeah, there are scenes on there that just, like the razor blade, or it wasn't even a razor blade, was it?
It was one of those clicking X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
And she cut her tongue.
Like box cutter.
Oh, yeah,
box cutter tongue.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I'm good. And that's the thing. I think that's the reason I stayed away from it, because I heard it's so over the top gory, and I'm not really into that these days. Yeah. So, and isn't there a scene with some sort of knife?
It's an electric
knife or something. Yeah.
Oh, there's also a nail gun.
Yeah. The nail gun is awesome.
It is awesome.
Is it awesome?
It is. Yeah.
I could probably deal with the nail gun. Not when someone's slicing their tongue in half.
Yeah, but
just not anymore.
But boy, they got shot up with that nail gun.
Yeah.
Did they? Okay.
Christ.
And they were the producers of that movie, so they were actually on set when Fede Alvarez,
who was Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and Rod Tapper.
What? Okay, and I hate to we've talked about them, but the new one, The Evil Dead Rise. What have you heard? Is this like a whole nother story?
So it's
because I keep seeing like a still from the new movie, like it comes out next year or something.
So why they call it Rise is it's like Evil Dead in an apartment building. Like a high rise.
So not like Rise, like it's risen.
Right.
It's because it's okay.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, it comes out next year. There's like a I've seen a little still from it. It looks kind of cool. It totally follows the whole Deadite thing.
Okay.
Like that's the one thing I will say consistently.
Right.
The look of the Deadites, I feel are awesome. Now, not so much in Evil Dead because they were limited on money.
Yeah.
But I get what the eyes and
I love
everything.
the white eyes.
The white eyes are great.
The milky eyes.
And he stayed consistent with them. Yeah. And I feel like they don't look like every other damn zombie that we see in all these movies, right?
Apparently those things were hard plastic. Mm-hmm. They weren't like little soft contacts. They were hard plastic.
They said that in that panel we
and
sat
they were
on,
blind when they put them in.
I think they did tell us that, yeah.
They were like from Michael Jackson's Thriller, the contacts he was using.
Yeah.
Those were thick, and he couldn't keep those in his eyes either.
Oof. Imagine how much that's hurt.
Oh my God.
I wear contacts sometimes, and sometimes those bastards are.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, would it have done permanent damage to their like retinas or something? Or
anytime I get like a little carpet fragment or an eyelash that gets caught between my contact and my eye,
it's like death.
It's
like someone's takes an X-Acto knife and they're like scratching on my eye.
Can you imagine cutting a damn ping pong ball in half and shoving it.
Oh my God.
That's basically what they were.
Yeah.
Damn, do that, and they couldn't see anything.
Nothing. Blind, dude. Completely blind.
So how would they film? Like, would it be just a situation where, okay, we're gonna put these in, yeah. So just turn and do whatever.
Yeah.
And didn't one of them say they fell? I thought one of the girls.
Yeah.
I thought one of the girls said they fell because
Yeah.
Well, Linda's walking in the woods. You know, she's after Ash. Remember, she like scratches at his leg, and his leg's all just bloody.
Dude, that was messed up. Or one of them wasn't the Scott character. The other guy wasn't he eating on his leg?
Yes.
So now, okay, so for some continuity there, though, right? Okay, so the pencil jabbing, that was what infected
Linda,
right?
Linda, because Cheryl was his sister.
Why wouldn't
was Cheryl his sister, Morris?
Yeah, Cheryl was his sister,
and she's the one that got it first with
why wouldn't
the
Ash
scratching,
being clawed and bitten
for sure? Yeah, you would think he would have turned.
You would
then.
think.
But I guess you needed. But he couldn't go through all the hell if he was one of them too.
Sure, no, I get it, but still.
Well, you could say that the end credit of Evil Dead, and then where Evil Dead picks up, Evil Dead 2 picks up when he's being thrown through the forest, that he is infected.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess so.
Yeah.
So I know. Okay, did you notice this? Okay, so all this shit was kind of happening, right? And then Scott, who was the other guy, his girlfriend Shelly, went into the room, and then she screamed, and he took his sweet ass time getting to the room,
Right.
And he didn't even seem that. Where is she?
So it seems like something got her from the window, right?
Yes, the window breaks. She yells and screams, and he just
Because we don't see her get infected.
Yeah.
He's lackadaisical though
Yeah.
about going into the room. Like, wouldn't you run? Like, oh my God, Shelly, are you okay? Dude, nah, he took his sweet ass time. I think he made like some fucking macaroni and cheese and then rolled up in there and was like, and didn't seem concerned like anything was wrong with her. Like, I don't know. Was I the only one who noticed this shit?
Yeah.
No? Was that not the case? You did I was literally, dude. Like I thought,
Dude, it was 8 months ago when I saw this thing. Yesterday, I only watched clips on YouTube.
All right, I'll give you a pass.
So.
But you watched it yesterday. Like you did not.
It did. He wasn't hurrying in there. Yeah, it took him a bit, but yeah. I think you're a little over exaggerating, but I get
I'm
it.
not. I think he made some mac and cheese and then read a book and then went and checked on her. Like I think that's what happened.
He's I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a bubble bath.
Yeah, he was flipping through the book of the knowledge.
You know what I noticed is where Cheryl, her face kind of changed, obviously because some of it was filmed months later, you know, like her being down, and when Scott was hitting her with the butt of the gun, that was Ted Raimi actually.
Oh, was that Ted Raimi?
Getting hit in the face? Yeah,
okay.
Because that portion had to be filmed, because that was a different time altogether.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, when Shelly turns, I mean, she's ugly right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Yeah.
And you could tell it's that actress, and you can see the makeup line
was not good.
Yeah.
Like
and the makeup lines in her fingers.
Well, yes, because like their fingers are supposed to be all like rotting, and then all of a sudden you see like the thumb is through, and it looks just like a regular thumb.
but it's painted white.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even painted white.
That's
it was
funny.
literally like their normal flesh fingers, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, and so it's like But when we were younger, we don't notice that.
No.
And then
Or like the veins look like they were painted with like makeup.
Yeah.
okay, when Ash gets hit in the face and then it bruises, and then a few minutes later it's like purple like makeup.
Yeah.
Dude, it doesn't look like a bruise. It just looks like bad purple makeup. And God, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm totally ripping this movie apart. I said some good stuff about it. Like, I mean, there's some cool stuff, but it doesn't hold up for me like it does for you guys.
Well, I think you're like a lot of, horror fans. There's fans of the movie. It's not beloved by everybody. There's people that are horror people that don't, they like Evil Dead 2 better. They don't really care for the first one as much.
Yeah. I don't go into that first one expecting massively awesome effects. I know exactly what I'm getting when I watch.
Right.
I go into it with focusing on that oppressive evil vibe that it has.
Yeah. I wish I had got, it sounds weird, but I wish I had gotten that vibe. That I didn't get that vibe. It just doesn't give it to me. It gives, I've watched other movies that I feel that dread, like punch in the stomach type of thing. I don't feel that with this movie at all.
You know why?
No,
Yeah,
I don't know why.
It's because you thought it was a penis. Dude.
I thought it was a penis.
You,
I should never
you
have
completely
said that.
You shouldn't. You should have kept that to yourself.
So you know what's funny is like the Ash versus Evil Dead. You know, like that. I can't remember
about the series.
The series,
Yeah.
That one episode where he's inside the morgue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And remember the guy, the possessed guy's dead body. He's naked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then it wraps around Ash, and he's got dong flipping around in his face.
I actually don't remember that. I watched the series.
And then he actually goes up his butt.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's wrong.
Okay, I don't remember that episode. Like,
Yeah,
I watched the
series.
series.
They went all out with some of the
Did you write a letter
graphic.
to them?
No, I swear to God,
give them
I
suggestions.
did
Is that what you did?
No.
Like, hey, you
It's-
know what you ought to do? You ought to throw this whole scene. It's like this, like
Whatever.
dong.
And
It's funny how you remember, like when you're a kid and you think of like,
Right.
Like it's like listening to a song, right? You think you know the lyric and it's so not the lyric. And then you find out what the lyric was and you're like, oh my God, I really thought it was that, you know?
I used
And
that all the time when I was a kid. I do that now as an adult.
I still
I'm so
do that.
horrible when it comes to lyrics, dude. Oh my God.
I'm terrible. Like, yeah, dude, I still do that as well.
Yeah.
I think this is people are gonna find this funny, but the Metallica song, I always thought it was like,
I know where you're going.
You know, it's the I always thought it was like
Harvester of Sorrow.
I always when I was younger, I thought it was Monster of Sorrow.
I remember the first time
hard.
I found that out from you is we were going to the Metallica show in San
Yeah.
Francisco, and so we were listening to it, and I think that song came on, and you were all monsters.
I don't think I sang it.
You didn't sing it,
But I'm like, dude, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's Harvester. I thought it was Monster of Sorrow. I felt like a total idiot. But we do that because if we don't know,
Right.
Like, okay, what was it? The Michael Jackson song, Billie Jean.
Yeah.
Where he says that the child is not. I always thought he said Chad. When I'm a kid listening to this, like
it was
Chad
the
is
way
not
he-
my son,
yeah, it
but
was
the
the way he
child
said child.
This is what, dude. I know all of us have done it.
you know what's funny?
All of us done it.
So my cousin used to think he said LeChan.
LeChan is not my son.
Yeah. LeChan is not my son.
See, I mean, it's what we do.
But that was the same cousin that we were listening
Chad.
to
The Chad.
the Journey
I thought the
Escape
Chad
album,
was-
and you know
All
the
right,
song.
you may call me
Keep
the
on Running.
Chad.
He thought it was Speedboat Power. He's like,
Which album?
keep on running, keep on running. It's a Journey song
yeah.
off of Escape. And he thought it was Speedboat Power, Speedboat Power. And I'm like, dude, no, it's Keep on Running. It's not Speedboat Power. But he's the same one that's like, LeChan is not my son.
I don't know, man. I think you just throw a word in there and then it just becomes like you make it real over
Yeah.
time. Like, no, it's not the child, it's Chad.
I don't know, Monster of Sorrow. Yeah.
That sounds cool
Seems
though,
like-
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the Mandela effect.
Monster of Sorrow. That sounds like a cool song. I would totally listen to
you'd
that.
listen to that
I
one?
would absolutely listen to Monster of
Rick's
Sorrow.
all like the minute he found out it was Harvester of Sorrow. He's
I'm like,
all,
oh, it's
"Fuck
not
this shit.
as cool
Let him out."
anymore. Yeah, it's
Listen
not
to
as
that.
cool. I don't know, man. But anyways, what other stuff what about the film? Anything we've like not touched on or that I have completely shit on?
Well, like going off of what Darren's saying, yeah, that total dread in this movie, and you have to look at it with different eyes. It's one of these movies. It's not made with great effects. It's not made with a big budget.
Yeah.
But that sense of dread follows the entire movie,
does.
and it ends on a downer. When you think
It
about it,
does,
it's like, okay, so he survived
does
this
do
night.
that,
All
yeah.
his 4 friends are dead, and then you're thinking, okay, well, he escaped this, and he's walking out slowly, and then there's that shot where, obviously the evil gets him at the end, and he looks terrified.
He does.
Yeah.
And can I just say that they did a really good job? Wasn't there like a scene in there where, I mean, he almost goes crazy,
Oh yeah,
right? And like the camera's spinning around him,
Yes, I
and
did
there's
like
all
that.
the shadows
Yes.
on the walls, and then there's, I don't know, there's like the close up of his face, and he's like they really did a good job making it.
Yeah.
You could feel that this guy is almost being scared to death.
yeah.
Well, he's gone through hell, and
Yeah.
it's one thing if your friends die, right? That's already devastating enough. But you've had to
Well, you had to
basically
kill your
You've had to
girlfriend.
kill them.
Yeah.
You've had to chop off limbs,
Yeah.
and you've had to cut off their head or whatever the hell you had to do to kill them. That on top of it is even worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that with that, I mean, I totally agree there. Yeah. There was a scene I noticed last night where someone was talking about the grandfather clock, but there's a scene where it looks like what I think they might have done is just taken the piece of the clock and put it in front of the camera, but it's literally right there, and it's and I wish I could explain it better.
Oh,
but
where it's like the hands of the clock are right in front of the lens of the camera, to where you're in the face of the clock.
Yes,
looking out at the rest of
That's it.
Yeah.
I thought that was a definitely cool little scene. So I'm not shitting on everything. There's a lot of things that are cool in this movie.
I'm just building some cabins.
I'm building some. I just there's just some stuff that didn't work for me and that I just found boring. But it doesn't mean it wasn't like, I don't know, like he didn't lay the groundwork for a ton of other filmmakers and other things that he was going to do later on. Because a lot of people probably saw that and go, damn, and then they borrowed from it, and then they were so inspired they became a film director. I'm not
Cabin Fever.
Yeah. Cabin Fever.
Fever,
yeah.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods. Yeah. So I mean, but I don't know. What else? Anything else? Anything else that we didn't touch on? That we maybe noticed. I was texting Morris last night when I was watching, and I didn't realize I hadn't noticed the Hills Have Eyes poster in the little half of it in the background. I thought that was a cool little paying kind of little respect to Wes Craven.
Right.
So where that started. So in the movie The Hills Have Eyes, there's a torn Jaws poster. Sam Raimi did, because he thought that was a dig at Jaws because he loves Jaws.
Oh yeah.
He's like, okay, well, Wes is saying that The Hills Have Eyes is scarier than Jaws, so I'm going to put The Hills Have Eyes in my basement, because the torn Jaws poster was on the camper of The Hills Have Eyes. I'm going to put a torn Hills Have Eyes poster in my basement of my movie, so my movie's scarier. And then Wes takes it further in Nightmare on Elm Street. And when Nancy's like trying to stay awake, she's watching The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And then Sam's like, no, I'm going to take the reins on this again. So when we go and he's cutting up Linda in part 2, his girlfriend, he takes the chainsaw in that shed. There's Freddy's glove hanging on the wall. So funny. They keep going back and forth.
Yeah. I love little things like that, though.
Yeah.
Because it's, these directors kind of, little shout outs to each other, but in a respectful way that,
Right.
And so I think it's, I think that's cool.
On a different note, you guys into that Terrifier?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys like those movies?
I haven't seen the second one. I'm not a fan of.
So what I was going to say earlier, we were talking about that guerrilla dark filmmaking. Mm-hmm. I love Terrifier the short.
Me too.
The short
is
absolutely amazing. I thought that was done well, and I actually saved that as an MP4 on my other computer, and because they don't have that short unless you watch All Hallows Eve. That's the anthology that pieces all these things together, and they cut off the end of the short that had the credits that have that. It has that grindhouse feel to it.
Yeah.
And that would have been a wonderful movie as a grindhouse movie, like to go with Quentin and Robert Rodriguez's stuff, because it has that feel to a T. And then Terrifier 1, I enjoy it. It's a little bit polished. And then I haven't seen Terrifier 2. Have you seen Terrifier 2?
I've not seen either of them. The only reason I even brought it up was my daughter. It was before Halloween. It was I want to say it was maybe a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
She came up to me, she's like, the whole, it's because I have a digital Halloween decoration, so I project stuff on them,
Oh, that's right, because it had Art the Clown on there.
It does. Yeah. And I think you were the one, I didn't even know who he was. I think you were the one who, when I first got that thing, I told him, that's from the Terrifier,
Yeah.
Anyway, she must have seen that because she started, I guess she had seen or watched Terrifier or something, and then suddenly she sees it all projected onto the and so she makes the connection. That was what prompted her to come.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And she was telling me about it, and just how complete. I mean, she's talking about how this girl's like hanging upside down, and he cut her in half.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Oh yeah, it's brutal. Yeah.
And so then that prompted me to go, I've never seen that. So I went on to YouTube, started like watching some clips of it.
Oh
you
yeah,
know, and I'm like, I don't know, it's a little over the top for me.
It's on Tubi if you wanted to watch it.
Is it
for free? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you would like it that much.
Yeah.
Darren.
It's real gory.
It's real gory, and the part 2 is, from my understanding, is even worse.
They say it's even gory. Like the girl hanging upside down is just cake, because part 2, and I haven't seen part 2 yet. I was telling Rick, I'm like, okay, so part 1 is a cool 86 minutes. So it's supposed to be, like any horror movie.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Unless it's like The Shining or The Exorcist. Yeah. Movies shouldn't be a horror movie shouldn't be 2 hours.
Nope.
So Damien Leone that we saw at
Sinister
Creature Con, and we talked
to we met the director and the clown.
In the clown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he made Terrifier 2. It's 2.5 hours.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Did he cut it down to 2 though? Or is it released at 2.5?
Oh, it's released at 2 hours 28 minutes.
See, that's
way, like Lord of the Rings realm
right.
of time.
Dude, a horror movie shouldn't be, and it goes places that the first one didn't go, and the first one went to places it's bad, man. Like he tears this woman's face off. He cuts that one girl's. He throws acid in this other girl's face.
Yeah.
And it's really graphic. And while I enjoy it, I know Rick's not a huge fan of gore.
I'm not. I'm not these days.
Not when it gets to a point.
Yeah,
like that's where I start shutting off, and I'm just kind of.
This is over the top. This type of stuff is over the top.
So there's movies out there that are low budget that some horror fans love, like Vomit Dolls and August Underground, where it's like shot on video, but it depicts it looks like Faces of Death, where it's blood and people being ripped open, and the effects look pretty real, and the acting's terrible. But there's a niche for that kind of stuff, and people love that. And this is almost like that, but there's still like a comic, almost like an Italian horror kind of, and Evil Dead kind of. Yeah. Look to the special effects, where it looks real, but then it looks a little fake enough to make it be okay.
Yeah,
but then it's like a little bad.
Was Faces of Death? Was that like?
That was supposed to be real.
It was supposed to be. Was it or was it not?
Well, there were some shorts in that movie and that whole series that were real, but some of the other stuff wasn't.
So it was kind of like, because Blair Witch was marketed to be, but obviously it turned out it's not. But it was effective. It was marketed to be that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was a teenager seeing Faces of Death, and I was, oh my God,
I was
this
disturbed.
Is real.
I was disturbed by a couple of them. Disturbed me. Yes, very much so.
Cutting open the monkey brains and stuff, like the monkey heads.
There was one with a screwdriver.
I remember the screwdriver.
The screwdriver one it's to this day it's unsettling for me.
And that took place in was it a hospital or?
Yeah, it was I think it was like a hospital. Yeah, something like there was someone. Yeah. But when people a lot of these movies these days that they tweet, that we'll see or talk about, and they come out and they always go, based on a true story, and it's like, okay, out of 100%, 2% is real,
right?
But they get you. It's like, oh, this was based. It's like it's kind of like the Warrens, the Warrens with say Amityville or the Conjuring franchise. It's like, well, this was based off of one of their,
cases.
Right,
and it's like, well, how much of it, 5% is real? And
what's funny is that that Faces of Death episode that I saw, which was probably the same one you.
Oh yeah, that's the same one. Yeah,
I never forget. I was a teenager. I was over at a friend of mine's house. That was the first time I had seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street. So we had just got done watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and he's all, check this out. He threw that thing on there, and I was like, and so a lot of it, your point of view or what you think of a horror movie, especially these old ones, really, really is based on when you saw it and the effect it had on you at that time.
Mm-hmm. True.
Because Nightmare on Elm Street to me was, I'd never seen anything like that at that time. And it had a major impact on me. probably also the fact that I watched Faces of Death immediately
I think
after
so,
that.
dude.
So,
Seriously.
So I've got some sort of chemical connections in my
Yes.
head that whenever the Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one comes on, to me that's golden. I just the other ones are cool and all, but that one is cemented in a way, and it's similar with this Evil Dead.
Well, that movie's shot. Talking about the first Nightmare on Elm Street, that's shot so well to where it's so different than the rest of the series, especially the opening credits of Freddy grunting and making his knives.
Oh no, for sure.
Does that not feel like a different movie?
It did.
Oh, it does. It does.
Yeah.
I would say two is the closest that
Rick
has that feeling.
I mean, you can't deny that
Oh
scene
no.
where he's
Let me
in
be.
the alley.
Oh no, the arm scene.
The arm scene, right?
still scares the hell out. Look, it doesn't mean.
And then he's running all like.
Oh yes. Oh no, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Like no, look. I'm just telling you from an entertainment. So like if I just wanted to be entertained, I'm gonna pop in 3 versus 1.
Wasn't 3 the one where there was like the pizza?
No, that's 4.
That's 4.
That's 4. No, 3 has like him coming out of the TV. Welcome
That's
to
right.
prime time, bitch.
So 4 was also the one where the girl.
the cockroach.
The cockroach.
Love the cockroach, but no, I mean 1 is still is a great movie. I still love 1. There's a lot of awesome. I mean, Tina being drug across the room.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so I respect the hell out
Shaylee
of how
couldn't
they
get
filmed
through
it.
that.
Yeah, no. Oh, I mean, Jesus,
I had to shut it off,
Johnny Depp getting sucked into the friggin'
the bed,
and then literally all that blood's. I mean, no, dude, there's some awesome things happening, and there some of them are unsettling. The arms still freak me out. Like in that alleyway, and he's running, and I'm like, holy shit, run, get your ass out of there. First of all, I'm not, I know it's a dream, and then sometimes in the dream you can't control what you do.
Yeah.
But if I thought for a second it was real, and then I'm hearing my voice, and then the rock hits it, I'm not fucking going outside. I'm not investigating that. It's not happening.
Well, you are in a dream, though. I mean,
I don't know, dude. I find in my dreams, though, I have limitations on what I'll venture out and go look at. And that's just, so I can only speak for myself. But, but yeah, no, there's awesome things that are happening in that, I still wonder how they filmed the sheet tying to him and pulling him up. I mean, I don't know how they did that, but the effect is awesome, man. I mean, when I look at effect like that and I don't know how they did it, I'm like, that's pretty cool,
Yeah, I'm trying to, how would you pull something like that off?
I don't know.
I mean, if it weren't, and obviously it wasn't the kind of CGI
unless it was filmed in reverse, maybe.
That was what I was initially thinking, but even in reverse, though.
Yeah, in reverse, how do you do it?
Well, there could be like
someone that's
like a rope that's behind him, like hanging him up, and then the things around his neck, and then they're lowering him and they're pulling that off his neck at the same time. So when he's, when it's going up, it looks like it's.
You know what I want to do? This is what I want to do. When we start back up, because we're going to be taking a little bit of a break, I want an episode to be the best kills and how they did them.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know some stuff that, I know how, the Kevin Bacon death, which I still believe is the greatest death, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I know how they did it, and I thought it was a cool story because Tom Savini tells the story.
Right.
But I would love for us to do an episode where we pick how many deaths it is that we think are the fucking
top 25.
Top 25 deaths of all time, and we talk about how, why we think it is and how they did it, and, get some insight, because I would love to know how that death was done. Yeah. I'm not saying that was a top 25 death, but...
Yeah. To Maura's point, I think it has to be some sort of reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
It has to be.
There's
no other way that you could do that.
Yeah, they could have been lowering him on a rope behind him, where sometimes they have a harness.
Yeah,
and then they have the sheet wrapped around his neck, and then they're lowering him and pulling the sheet off. So when it's when he's going up, it looks like the sheet's wrapping around his neck.
Yeah, and it's loose enough that as they're pulling the sheet, it could unravel.
But see, we're talking about it right here. Yeah. This sounds cool. I think we should we got to remember that. That's going to be an episode that we do next whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, anything else we want to?
No,
we're taking a little bit of a break. So I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but we'll take a little bit of a hiatus and
see The Evil Dead and judge for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to listen to me.
I mean, anybody into horror who's listening to this podcast already seen that movie.
Yeah, I would hope so. But you'd be surprised sometimes. Like I'll talk to someone.
Don't listen to Rick.
Yeah, don't listen to me. Yeah, no one listens to me anyway, so it's all good. Anyways, thanks for coming out, guys. I always appreciate it. Really fast again. I know Monster Movie Man 13. I know I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Astral
Fractured
SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Go check out the music. We had them on most of the episodes that we've done. Darren's original music.
Phenomenal music.
Great music. Check it out. And check out all his other stuff too. Check out Morris on Monster Movie Man 30. He doesn't post as much, but
yeah, I used to post on Letterboxd. Not as much. I think I will start picking that up at the beginning of the year again.
There you go. Yeah. So anyways, everyone take care. We'll we'll talk with you next time. You listened all the way to the end. We appreciate that. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ear for Fear Podcast, Twitter at Ear for Fear, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ear for Fear Podcast. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There we list news and events. We're available on all the main platforms, so make sure you tell a friend. We hope you come back and get an earful.